Number 1, I found his secret plane tickets. And what I did next changed everything. My name is Marin. I'm 29 years old and I'm a mother of 2. My husband Daniel is 38. We've been married for 8 years. When we first got married, I was the happiest woman alive. Daniel was warm, funny, and every single day he'd wrap his arms around me and whisper, "You're my whole world." I believed him completely. I wanted nothing more than to build a beautiful life by his side. 3 years into our marriage, we welcomed our first child, a boy we named Elliot. He was sharp, curious, and always making people laugh. 2 years after that came our daughter Josie, a gentle little girl who never stopped singing around the house. In those early days, Daniel really was a good husband. He worked hard, brought money home, and never once made me feel like I was carrying this family alone. I stayed home to raise our children, cooking, cleaning, teaching them their letters and numbers, pouring everything I had into our little world. But somewhere along the way, something in Daniel shifted. He started staying late at the office. Business trips became more frequent, and he stopped telling me where he was going. The words, "I love you," disappeared from his mouth entirely. One evening, I finally asked him, "Why are you always so busy lately?" He looked at me, almost annoyed, and said, "I'm doing this for our family. Stop questioning me." I felt something inside me crack, but I stayed quiet. I loved him. I told myself he'd come back to who he used to be. Then, 3 years ago, everything changed. Daniel left for another one of his trips, and while I was going through some paperwork, I found 2 plane tickets tucked inside his jacket. One had his name, the other had a woman's name I didn't recognize. My heart shattered right there on the bedroom floor. I cried for 4 straight days. I felt like I was drowning in my own home, completely alone, even with my children beside me. When Daniel came back, I confronted him. "Who is she?" I asked, my voice shaking. He barely looked up. "She's nobody. Don't worry about it." I didn't believe a single word, but I told him it was fine. I wanted to protect our family. Our son was only 3 years old at the time, and I couldn't bear the thought of shattering his world too. Years passed, and nothing changed. Daniel kept working late, kept disappearing on trips, and deep down I always knew, that the other woman never really left the picture. Something inside me went cold. I moved through my days like a ghost. I scrubbed the floors, but the house never felt like a home again. I cooked dinner every night, but there was no joy left in it. I'd look at Daniel across the table and see a complete stranger sitting where my husband used to be. Then one day, I ran into someone from my past. His name was Nathan. We had been close friends years before I ever met Daniel. He was kind, soft-spoken, the kind of man who noticed the little things. I watched him once from across a parking lot, opening the car door for his wife, gently helping her with her coat. And something in me broke open. I thought, this is what care looks like. This is what love is supposed to feel like. I never had this. Nathan and I started talking again. He'd ask simply, "How are you, really?" And I'd say, "I'm fine," even though I wasn't. But he listened. He really listened. He told me, "You matter. You're stronger than you know." For the first time in years, I felt something stir back to life inside me. I laughed again. I smiled without forcing it. We talked for 3 months, nothing more than conversation, nothing more than someone finally seeing me. I didn't want gifts or promises. I just wanted to feel human again. I wanted to feel loved. Then Daniel found out. He was furious. "How could you do this to me?" he shouted. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Because I needed to feel loved, Daniel. Something you stopped giving me a long time ago." That night we talked for hours. Daniel broke down crying. "I love you," he said. "Please don't leave me." I asked him, "Why now? Why after 8 years of silence?" He said, "I didn't realize how much I was hurting you until I almost lost you." Not long after that, I fell seriously ill and ended up in the hospital. Daniel never left my side. He held my hand through the night and whispered, "Don't leave me. I love you." It was only the second time in 8 years I had heard those words and actually felt them mean something. Now Daniel is home. He sleeps beside me every night, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I know that woman is probably still waiting for him. I don't know what the future holds. My heart is tired, worn thin from years of doubt. I want to believe him again, but trust doesn't rebuild itself overnight. For my children, I keep smiling. I keep standing tall even when my chest feels heavy. I know I'm not perfect either. I made my own mistakes, but everything I did because I was desperate to feel loved again. All I want now is peace. After everything that happened, I started thinking deeply about my life, my choices, my future. Some nights I couldn't sleep at all. I'd just lie there staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning with questions. Should I stay? Should I go? What's actually best for my kids? What's best for me? Daniel tried to change. He started coming home earlier. He helped around the house more, washing dishes, folding laundry, small things he never used to bother with. He'd ask, "Do you need help with anything?" They were small gestures, but I noticed every one of them. Still, my heart wasn't the same anymore. Living with him started to feel like living with a stranger wearing my husband's face. When I looked at him, I no longer saw the man I married. I saw the man who broke something in me that might never fully heal. One evening, I sat down for dinner with Elliot and Josie. They were laughing, telling silly stories about their day at school. I watched them and thought, are they really this happy? Do they have any idea what's breaking inside their mother? After dinner, I gently asked Elliot, "Do you think your dad and I are happy?" He looked at me, surprised. "I don't know, Mom. You're always nice to each other, but sometimes you seem sad." Josie, still so young, chimed in, "Mom, I just want us to stay together. I don't want anything to change." Their words hit me harder than anything Daniel had ever said. I didn't want to hurt them, but I also knew I couldn't keep pretending forever. One afternoon, I decided to see Nathan one last time. We hadn't spoken since Daniel found out about us. I needed to say goodbye properly. When I saw him, he smiled gently and asked, "How are you holding up?" I told him, "I'm trying to put my life back together." He nodded and said, "You're stronger than you think, Marin. You'll find your way." I thanked him. I told him he had given me something I would never forget. He reminded me that I still mattered. Then I walked away, knowing in my heart it was the last time I would ever see him. That night, I sat down with Daniel. "We need to be honest with each other," I said. "Do you actually want this marriage to work?" He looked at me and said, "Yes, I know I made mistakes, but I love you. I want us to stay together." I asked him, "Can you let her go completely? Can you give me the love and care I actually need?" He said, "I'll try." I told him, "Trying isn't enough anymore, Daniel. I need to feel it, not just hear it." Slowly, he started making more time for me. We took walks together in the evenings. We talked about small, ordinary things. The weather, the kids, nothing important, and somehow that meant everything. Bit by bit, a small flicker of hope crept back in, even though my heart still carried its doubts. Forgiving Daniel was the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life. I thought about every night I cried myself to sleep alone. I thought about that plane ticket with a stranger's name on it. But I also thought about my own choices, about Nathan, about the months I spent leaning on someone who wasn't my husband. One night I stood in front of the mirror and told myself, "Marin, you're not perfect either. You made mistakes too. If you want peace, you have to learn to forgive. Both of you." Now I take life one day at a time. Daniel and I are still together, but our life isn't perfect and it probably never will be. He tells me he loves me, and most days I choose to believe him, even though a small shadow of doubt still lingers somewhere in the back of my mind. I focus on my children now more than ever. I want them to grow up in a home filled with warmth, not silence and tension. I smile for them, even on the days my heart feels like it's carrying stones. I've also started focusing on myself again. Reading, taking quiet walks alone, slowly remembering how to love myself the way I once did. One night I wrote myself a letter. It said, "Dear Marin, you are strong, you are kind, you matter more than you realize. Life is hard, but you can carry this. Love yourself first. Only then can you truly love anyone else. You deserve happiness too." I keep that letter tucked in my nightstand drawer. On the days when everything feels too heavy, I take it out and read it again. It reminds me that no matter what happens, I am not alone. This entire journey taught me something I'll carry for the rest of my life. Love was never just words whispered in the dark. Love is action. Love is showing up again and again. Love is respect, patience, and choosing someone every single day. People make mistakes. Every single one of us does. Nobody is perfect. All we can really do is find the strength to keep going.